Get ready to ignite your passion for music and take your creativity to the next level with the Rhynestone Podcast. I'm your host, Banner Driskell, and we have an exciting episode in store for you today. Have you ever wondered what sets successful artists apart from those who struggle in the music industry? Well, get ready to have your mind blown as we dive deep into the intriguing concept of artists versus entertainers. Our special guest today is none other than the talented content creator moshibass, who will be sharing his incredible journey of how he skyrocketed from under 500 followers to over 100,000 followers by creating content that his audience craved. We'll also be answering some of your burning questions and giving you an insider's look into what exactly it is that Rhynestone does. So put your headphones on, turn up the volume, and get ready to be inspired as we help you unlock your potential as a musical creative. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Rhynestone Productions. That is Rhynestone, Rhynestone Productions, wherever you do social media, or feel free to shoot us an email at rhynstonemusic@gmail.com with your feedback and comments. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. It was my first day working at a major label. I was interning for the film department, and I was super eager to learn everything I could about the business. The record label was inside a giant compound surrounded by 15-foot-high concrete walls. This place looked more like an army base than a record label. My new boss opened the gates and escorted me into the studios. All along the wall were platinum and gold records and pictures of all sorts of events like the Grammys, the Billboard Awards, the Soul Train Awards. It was overwhelming. Ever since I was a kid, I had dreamed of having success like this. And inside this compound, it felt like those dreams were possible. So my new boss escorts me through the studio to the office of his boss, the CEO of the record label. And this CEO, he was kind of short. He had an Armani shirt on. He had just whatever cargo shorts. I remember he had really nice Jordans, and he had a Mercedes-Benz hat. It was just, he looked like somebody in the music business. It was just so almost like a caricature, you know? Anyway, he was sitting behind his desk on his cell phone. And my new boss looks at me and he goes, I just want you to sit down. I don't want you to say anything. Do not speak unless you are spoken to. And, you could just tell that this guy could make or break you. He just had that energy about him. So the CEO hangs up the phone and he just looks at me with the most intense, mean stare you've ever seen. I mean, this scared the daylights out of me. It was so terrifying. So he looks at me and he firmly asks, "What do you do?" And so I go, "Well, I'm an artist." Before I could even finish that next sentence, he cuts me off and he goes, "Are you an artist or are you an entertainer?" Now, I've been making music my whole life, right? Since about the age of 12, that's what I wanted to do. And I had suffered for it. I had lived in terrible places to do it. I went to music school for a couple of years. I took all sorts of weird gigs, and I suffered for the ability to make art. So without even hesitating, I'm an artist. I'm definitely an artist. The CEO, he leaned in over his desk and looked at me, and he goes, "Then you'll always be working for other entertainers." Now, normally, I probably would have dismissed what he was saying and taken it with a grain of salt, right? But because of his power and influence, I really had to consider what it was that he was saying, right? This is somebody who was making dreams come true. So he continued and he said, "Artists create art for themselves. Entertainers entertain the masses. At this record label, we do not sign artists. We sign entertainers. For every professional entertainer, there are 25 to 100 people working to back this entertainer up. They're in all sorts of fields, from stage design, hair and makeup, fashion, publicists, backup musicians, performance coaches, stylists, stage designers. There's so many different aspects to it, but all of them support the entertainer." And I'll never forget this. He puts his hands under his chin, looks at me, and he goes, "The entertainer is just the face of the organization." And in just a couple of sentences, this CEO had completely rearranged everything I thought I knew about being in the music business, or being an artist for that matter. I kind of looked at him, and with a certain sense of fear, I said, "How do you know if you're an artist or an entertainer?" Is there a way to figure it out? He leans back in his chair and he looks at me and he goes, some people are just born entertainers. They have the look, they got a great smile. People are just magnetically drawn to their presence and they just know how to carry a crowd. You don't have to always be handsome or pretty or whatever. Sometimes people just have that aura about them, right? And some people are artists who spend years developing a craft, working, spending all their free time to develop the skills necessary to pursue creating something bigger than themselves. What it comes down to is how that person's audience affects what they do. Do they love the audience? Do they do anything for the audience? Does the audience like them? Do they love them? Do they hang on their every word? If the answer is no, then you're an artist. End of discussion. I just remember being crushed. Like, it was just like, man, I have no hope. There's no chance for people like me, right? People who've just struggled their whole lives to make art. And I just remember feeling so low, and after feeling so high that I'd gotten this internship, and now here I am, and I just feel like garbage. Nobody was following me. Nobody cared. And I felt like I just wasted my whole life pursuing this art. But, the CEO exclaimed, artists can become entertainers, but entertainers can never become artists. And just like that, man, oof, okay, we might have a chance. We might have a chance here. And it was this crazy feeling now all of a sudden, like there might be a way to work this out, right? So how do we do it? So he continued, artists can develop the skills to become entertainers because at the end of the day, artists are capable of using those skills to learn how to entertain audiences. People like Dr. Dre, Lady Gaga, Ed Sheeran, they have all escaped from behind the scenes to becoming major superstars and entertainers. The CEO leaned forward in his chair, and you could tell he was about to make a big point. However, have you ever seen a pop star try to make music with a message or try to communicate something that was just a little bit outside of what their fans expected? It comes off as shallow, and in most times is career side. People don't want it. People don't want it, quite frankly. They want to be entertained. They want to escape from the drudgery of their day-to-day life. The phone rang, the CEO picked it up, and as soon as he did, he looked at us, gave us a dismissive bye, and me and my new boss were out of the office. I imagine most people listening to this podcast are a lot like I was. They are an artist with little to no following. So let me ask you a question right now. Are you entertaining your audience? Even your favorite artists practice being entertainers. So how do you practice this? Is there a way that we can consistently get better at being entertainers? It's actually very simple. Very simple. With every decision you make that involves your art, you need to ask yourself, is this entertaining? Whether that's the clothes you wear or how you look on stage or photo shoots, whatever, ask yourself, will my audience enjoy this? Will they be entertained by this? Is this entertaining? And if it's not, change it. Punch it up. Make it more entertaining. Put some jazz on it, Do something. Your audience is literally begging for it. The more you entertain your audience, the more they will stick around. The more they stick around, the more likely they are to become diehard fans. And the diehard fans are the ones that drop all the cash. So go out and entertain your audiences, and you will be ahead of 99% of artists out there. Are you tired of recording your songs and being disappointed with the final result? You're not alone. Many songwriters go through this frustration even when they've hired top musicians and rented out the best studios. But what if I told you the key to achieving great recordings is not hiring the best musicians, but actually hiring the right musicians? At Rhynestone, we understand the importance of hiring the right musician for your project. Our team of experienced musicians is not only talented, but specializes in many genres so that we can take your recording and make sure it reaches its full potential. We pride ourselves on delivering high-quality recordings that will take your track to the next level. Working with Rhynestone also means working side by side with an experienced producer. These producers will ensure that your vision is brought to life efficiently and effectively. Say goodbye to confusing musician lingo and hoping that musicians understand your creative vision. Our producers will work with you every step of the way to guarantee that you get the results that you want. And to celebrate the launch of our first podcast, we have a deal for you. Hire one of our musicians before April 15th, 2023, and receive a buy one, get one half off deal. Just email us at rhynestonemusic@gmail.com, Rhinestone, Rhynestone, with the word podcast in the subject line to take advantage of this deal. Hey everybody, welcome to the audience questions segment of the Rhynestone Podcast. If you have questions you'd like to ask us or ask me or our Rhinestone musicians, we would love to answer them here on this section of the podcast. And the way that you can do that is you can send them to us at this email, rhynestonemusic@gmail.com. That is Rhynestone, Rhynestone, music@gmail.com. So today I've got a couple questions. I'm going to answer them with the best of my ability, and hopefully you guys can get something out of this. So our first question comes from Amy M. of Sheffield, England. Amy asks, "Hi Banner, my name is Amy, and I am a singer-songwriter based out of Sheffield, England. Ooh. I have been playing on the acoustic coffeehouse circuit scene for about 5 years now, and I am finally getting to the point where I want to play bigger clubs. The problem is, most of the clubs require a full band, and I do not know where to start. Where do you suggest I start my search in putting together a band? Yours truly, Amy." Well, Amy, that's a great question, because putting together a band is one of the hardest things in the world to do. And if you don't pick the right people, it can become chaos. And even if you do pick the right people, there's a good chance it will still become chaos. So as far as if you already have music going and you want to bring some people in, the first thing I would do is look at hiring a musical director, an MD. And your MD is going to be your right-hand person. They're going to be the ones who help you lead rehearsals. They will lead the band when you're on stage. They usually will know a ton of musicians and will be able to help you fill out the rest of your band. And they tend to be kind of the springboard for your songwriting and recording and things like that. They tend to be the person that'll help you go, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe let's try that. Almost like a co-writer in a sense. They won't be writing the songs, but they'll be helping you arrange them. And an MD is essential if you're going to be a singer-songwriter that goes to the next level. And there's a few things to look out for when you're looking for an MD. The first one is you want someone who is well-respected in your music community. And this goes for so many things, but the first thing is that if they're well-respected, it'll be a big boost for you as an artist, because then you'll get a lot of credibility because they're on your side, right? The second thing with them being well-respected is that it'll be a lot easier to get other musicians to join as well. So maybe if they're a bass player and they know a drummer and a keyboard player and some horns, well, then your band's right there, right? An MD should be able to hook you up with a lot of musicians. That's a red flag if they don't know any musicians. And then the third thing is they're going to be able to know how to help you run rehearsals and run recording studio time so that you don't have to have the pressure on yourself to do that, and you can perform. And you can entertain, as we talked about earlier in this episode. So don't be afraid of hiring somebody that would be, or not hiring, but having someone on your team who is a music director. The other thing I would give is that I've met a few music directors, and the best ones I've seen are usually not guitar players. And I say that as a guitar player. People who are front of house on the band, so your guitar players and horns and singers and stuff like that, those people tend to not make the best music directors because they are so focused on entertaining that they lose sight of the music. The best ones I've seen have been drummers, bass players, and keyboard players, especially keyboard players, because let me not use that finger, but keyboard players, because they are the ones who can hear the whole band. They're not trying to show off. They fill out the sound. They know what's necessary, and they know how to make things go smoothly. So if you're going to go up to that next level, a music director is definitely the next step you're going to want. to get to playing clubs and things like that. So I hope that helps, and I hope that makes things a little bit easier. As far as where to find one, you will definitely want to try your local music jams, any sort of jazz jam or blues jam or free jam you can find, and just start finding people and start talking to people and start networking. That's honestly the answer to so many things here, is just get out there and talk to people. Thank you, Amy. Great question. So our next question, this comes from Nick in Ontario. And Nick says, "Dear Banner, I have been writing songs for 2 years now, and I am getting to the point where I want to start recording. However, I cannot seem to write a song that is under 5 minutes long. The songs seem to go on, and I know that it is hard to get people to listen to music that is over 3.5 minutes long. How do I cut my songs down to 3.5 minutes?" Oh, Nick, fantastic question as well. I struggled with this for a long time, because you start throwing guitar solos and long intros and breakdowns and, going as low as you can and high as you can. And there's definitely music that can work for that. You can have songs, but if you are trying to write popular songs, 2.5 to 3 minutes is the sweet spot. 3.5 is pushing it. 4.5, 4+ now is that's like long, especially for radio and pop music. I can't think of a song in the last 4 or 5 years that's been over 4 minutes. Maybe Uptown Funk. I think Uptown Funk's almost 4 minutes. But that, again, that has so many hooks in it. It lends itself to do that, So as far as how to keep your songs under 5 minutes. So Nick, what I would suggest doing is learning a bunch of songs that are under 3 minutes, under 3.5 minutes, and learning the chords and the melodies to them, and learn how they work. Learn how the chords operate. Learn how long an intro is. Is an intro 4 bars, 8 bars, 16 bars? How long are choruses? How long are verses? I think the best person to learn this from, honestly, is probably Max Martin. Now, if you don't know who Max Martin is, that's totally okay, but I guarantee you've listened to his music. He wrote a ton of hits for the Backstreet Boys, Katy Perry. He wrote Can't Stop the Feeling by Justin Timberlake. He wrote a bunch of Weeknd songs. This guy is just like a bona fide hit machine. And he's incredible. I mean, he's just such a good songwriter. And a lot of those songs are, some people consider them cheesy, but they're classics for a reason. And that's because there's so much melodic, harmonic, and rhythmic content locked into every second of those songs. They are tight. They're tighter than you can believe. And I would recommend going through Max Martin's catalog and just learning those songs and seeing how he cuts out the fat, and then start comparing it. You don't have to even like Max Martin's music, but the fact is that's a guy who does what you're asking to do. So it doesn't hurt to steal a couple tools from him and then take those tools and apply them to your music, right? So if I were you, I would just start learning Max Martin, learn other pop songwriters, Benny Blanco, even the Beatles, man. They got in and out 2 minutes a lot of times. I mean, most of the time it's under 3 minutes, that early stuff. Learn how they do it, and you'll be amazed at how quickly you as a songwriter will evolve. Thanks again for all the questions. Again, anytime you want to ask a question to myself or our Rhinestone musicians, feel free to email us at rhynestonemusic@gmail.com. Again, that's Rhinestone, RHYNESTONE, music@gmail.com, and we will do our best to answer them. We can't answer everything, but we're going to try our darnest. So thank you so much. So for today's interview, I asked one of my best friends, Nelson Silva, otherwise known as moshibass, to expand upon entertaining your audience. Like we talked about in the monologue, it is such a vital part of growing your fan base is entertainment. And I think so many artists forget that. And I don't think there's anybody I could think of who could talk about this at such a useful level like Nelson can. And I think that's why we're talking to him today. And so this is gonna be a clip from a longer segment of the podcast that I did with him, which is gonna come out in April. And what I brought here today is him talking about being an artist and entertainer, and a few things that you can do right now that will open up your content creation game. And I just think you're going to really like what he throws out there. So without further ado, here is a portion of our interview with Nelson Silva, moshibass. In the last year, you have gone from under 500 followers to over 100,000. You just recently passed 100,000 in just a little less than a year. What would you say are some of the big pivots you made that catapulted you to that level of success in your content creation?
You know, I mentioned I took a long break from making content, and in my previous era of making content, I think I was always a little bit afraid to afraid to try to do things that were popular, because I think I always had it in the back of my mind, or not even in the back of my mind. I think I always was just thinking like, oh, well, if I were to do something popular, I'd be popular, right? And that was kind of like my excuse. And I think I was a little bit afraid to really test that, because it was if I started doing things, if I started trying really hard to do things that were really popular and trending, and then I couldn't get followers, and I think that would have really disappointed me. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try, and then we'll see. I was like, we'll see if aiming, because in the past I kind of had it in my head that I was like, well, I'm not really aiming for getting a lot of followers or subscribers. I'm just trying to make things that I like, and it always kind of was comforting, feeling like I had an excuse. I was like, well, yeah, of course people didn't watch this because this song is really niche. But a lot of it didn't perform very well because the songs were just not as popular. As a teacher, I know this. I know a lot of people struggle with feeling afraid to try things because they're worried that they're gonna fail. You know, it's kind of nice to always think oh, well, if I tried to get followers, then I could. You know, I feel like I definitely had an attitude like that in the past. Another thing that I really changed is because I'm such a perfectionist. I mean, you know that. You've known me for a very long time, and I've been really, really trying to not let that get the best of me for the first time in my life. And not that I'm making things that are imperfect. There are tiny little I could probably point out little things that I've let go and been all right, I'm not gonna fix that. I'm gonna leave it. And if I were to point them out, it would probably just seem ridiculous, because I really am so particular and such a perfectionist. So I've curbed that a little bit, and I've tried to really prioritize trying to make things faster so that I can put out more content.
So there's a ton of musicians who want to become content creators, and there are musicians who want to use content in order to grow their audience as much as possible. What are some things that they can do to make better content? Or if they're not things that they can do to make better content, what are things they should stop doing that are hurting their content?
I'd say one thing is, and I know my content is centered around covers, and not everybody wants to do covers, but it's so much easier to get your foot in the door with a listener if you do a song that they already know. So it's easy for me to say this as somebody who really that's not my aim at all. I'm not doing covers to get people to listen to my band or some other, I'm not trying to promote anything else. But I think a lot of people should be more willing to do some little covers. I mean, it's just that when somebody sees a song that they already know that they like, they're intrigued to hear it. So it just really gets your foot in the door. I think also if people would be, not everybody likes to teach. I mean, I'm lucky because I genuinely enjoy teaching. I think more musicians could share their knowledge and use that as a way to connect with their audiences and kind of garner a little bit of goodwill from them. I think people really get attached to people that they're learning from. So I'd say do some covers, teach some of your riffs or some of your techniques that people have been maybe commenting about or expressing that they like. You don't have to flip your whole content and suddenly do covers and tutorials, but I think that those are good things. Here's a really random one. stop telling people to put on headphones. Everybody knows that your music is gonna sound better with headphones, okay? You know what I do? And it's hard for me because my main instrument is bass. It's the worst instrument to try to get to sound on phone speakers, but you will never see me say, listen with headphones. Because people, if they're not listening with headphones, nobody's gonna go get headphones and that to listen to your thing. Nobody is like invested in your content when they first swipe to it. I think now that I have a large following, I think that when my followers see me, they're more likely to stick around. But they probably already know, and if they don't know, they probably don't have good enough ears to tell the difference. Just being honest, part of my process for mixing the audio for my videos is I literally mix on the phone speaker. There's an app, and I can tell you what the app is if you want, but there's an app that I use to basically listen to my computer sound through my phone speaker, and before I make the final mix of anything, I make sure it sounds great on my monitors, and then I listen to it through the phone, and that's like another step in the process, is I try to like kind of find the balance between something that sounds really good on the phone and something that sounds really good on nice speakers. That just kind of plays into a core philosophy of mine, is that whatever I'm making something with the setting in mind. Like if I'm making a cover or something, I'm thinking I'm going to make it differently if it's a live performance, or if it's at a wedding, or if it's a music video, or if it's on, I don't know, like Spotify or something. Like everything, I think you've got to really make stuff with the platform in mind. But anyway, yeah, stop telling people to listen with headphones. It's so like, I don't know why it bugs me so much. It's like so cheesy to me.
Gem after gem after gem after gem. Nelson dropping all the gems today. I am so amazed at how much info I got from this podcast. And this is only a short clip of it. Once you guys hear the full thing, which we're going to be dropping in April, you're going to learn even more. I can't wait to share it with you. In the meantime, go follow Nelson at moshibass, MOSHIBASS, wherever you do social media. You guys are going to be entertained. Let's leave it at that. Let's face it, making music can be overwhelming. From writing and recording to producing and mixing, it's no wonder so many people throw in the towel. Even the greats have struggled to find their footing. But here's the good news. At Rhynestone, we've seen it all, and we are here to help. Our team of music industry professionals is here to help you navigate the ups and downs of the music industry. By asking the right questions, we'll help identify where you are at, where you want to go, and the best way to get there. Whether you need help with songwriting, recording, vocal performance, production, gigging, or anything else, Rhynestone has got your back. We believe that every artist deserves the chance to shine like the star they are. That's why we're offering a special treat to our listeners today. Email us at rhynstonemusic@gmail.com. That is Rhynestone, RHYNESTONE, music@gmail.com with the word consulting in the subject line before April 15th, 2023 to receive your first hour of consulting for absolutely free. No questions asked. We'll work with you to develop a plan of action so that you can accomplish your goals and you can become the star that you are meant to be. Don't let the overwhelm get the best of you. With Rhynestone in your corner, you'll have the support you need to make your mark on the music world. Hey everybody, that is our show. I hope you learned a lot. I want to thank Nelson Silva for his wisdom and his time. His full interview will be dropping in April. In the meantime, please follow him at moshibass wherever you do social media and check out his amazing content. Our intro and outro music is Target Rockstar by Maddie Music Madness. Our ad music is Half a Heart by Chris Ray King. Both of those songs were produced by Rhynestone Productions. And my name is Banner Driskell. You can find me on social media at Banner Driskell Media, wherever you do social media. That is Banner, BANNER, Driskell, DRISKELL, Media, wherever you do social media. Lastly, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, anything, you just want a friend to talk to, man, feel free to email us at rhynestonemusic@gmail.com. That is Rhinestone. I've said it a million times, but I'm going to say it one more. That is RHYNESTONE music@gmail.com. And we love hearing from our fans. We're going to do our best to respond to everything. Thank you for listening, and keep shining like the star you are. Until next time.